This is the #1 NBA podcast in the world.
Obviously, I love the game of basketball.
With Greg Poehler.
There goes that man.
And we're back. Hey, welcome to the #1 NBA podcast in the world. My name is Greg Poehler. As always, I'm your host along with my producer, Jon Rollins. Shout out to our Swedish viewers. We had a lot of Swedish viewers the last episode. I don't know, I guess there's a lot of Luca Donic fans now.
Probably.
And as always, the podcast is simulcast in the U.S. on the Kirk Minahan Show Network. The Kirk Minahan Show.
Bang! It's good!
That was very inappropriate use of that, I think.
Two bangs, two countries.
Okay, double bang. Yeah. Nice. Jaylen Brown got a double bang you saw in the Celtics series. We can talk about that later. I'm actually headed to the U.S. on Tuesday of next week, and we'll be making my return to the hard court, it looks like.
What?
Yeah. Kirk's Minahan Show has a basketball team that they just started, an adult league.
You gonna play it?
I think I'm gonna play it. Yeah. What the fuck are you laughing at?
I'm just. It ain't just me. I can't wait to
John
see.
and I had a very famous one-on-one many years ago at like 3 in the morning.
I just healed up.
Yeah.
I got fouled for an hour straight.
Obviously, that means I won. But yeah, so we can talk about that later. I'm looking forward to it. I'm getting in basketball shape, playing against my kids.
That's terrible.
Thank you. And here we are, Celtics, just like I predicted, are in the NBA Finals and are on their way to potentially being called the greatest team of all time by at least one person.
No, by exactly one person.
Celtics, I mean, if you remember at the beginning of this podcast, I predicted 16-0. And now they're 12-2. With one of the best players in the league, one of their best players, the third best player in the team, getting injured early on. I'd say it's a pretty successful run to the finals. John? No.
I think they went up against really tough competition.
And I think this narrative that you're now setting forth is something that the whole basketball world is really talking. The Celtics somehow have gone 12-2. Made it to the finals without one of their best players and are largely viewed as somewhat of a disappointment thus far in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And
both losses at home.
To me, that speaks to how good this team is. That they can be this dominant and still people are like, oh, they're not playing as well as they could.
Why do I agree to this podcast? As much as I dislike the Celtics, man.
We'll get into the narratives in a bit. I wanted to just quickly say, since I'm going off to the U.S., so I'll be in the U.S. with my middle son from the 11th to the 20th. So that'll be games 3, 4, 5, 6, actually. Mm-hmm. And my oldest son, Ben, who we all watched the games together and have kind of gone on this Celtics journey together, feels very betrayed by this. Like he was outraged that we booked this flight and that we're going to be watching the games without him. So potentially a Celtics championship where we won't be together on that, which I honestly didn't think too much about when we were booking the trip. My middle son is going to play some basketball with the high school team there.
So you're hoping for a Game 7?
Well, in that sense, yes.
Yeah.
But although, I mean, Game 7s, if you're a true fan, I think Game 7s can be a horrible experience, especially if you lose. Mm. Actually, only if you lose.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be a fantastic.
But that's it reminds me in 1984 the Celtics won the championship, and my dad had some sort of back then there was some sort of shared season tickets through his work that so, and we went to. I feel like all of the playoff games in '84, but I'm now probably misremembering. They probably went to half of them. Mm. But that was incredible. That was the Bernard King Knicks series, and then the Lakers. With the tragic Johnson when he totally folded and made the mistake, dribbled out the clock. And I know I went to all of the home games in the on the Celtics side in the finals, 1984. And then I was at 10 years old. For Game 7, my dad decided to take my mom.
What?
Yeah,
Is she a big
she
fan?
was like, "Oh, I mean, not a fan."
Okay.
So it's not like she had no interest in it, but hadn't gone to any of the games prior, and was like, "You know what? I think I'd like to go to is that Game 7."
It's cold-blooded.
And I can remember watching that game at home, and that was back then when everybody stormed the court too. So it actually probably would have been dangerous for a 10-year-old to be out there, to be honest. But even though I was happy the Celtics had won, there was a part of me watching that was thinking this is the most unfair moment I will ever experience in my life, that I'm not there. My mom is there. They probably left early to beat the traffic.
Were you right? Was it the most unfair moment of your life?
Yes. I still stand by that. Personally devastated.
You get rejected professionally in life, and like, man, well,
at least it's not the Game 7 debacle. I can always say something else. On the betting side, I've had a very interesting run, as you know. I've been throwing some stuff out there in our chat with the Celtics after games 1 and 2. When Jaylen Brown hit the double bang shot from the corner to send it into overtime, and then scored 40 points in Game 2, and the Celtics led 2-0 against Indiana, I thought it was as big of a lock as it could be to bet him for conference finals MVP. And so I put a lot of money on it.
I didn't even want to comment when I saw it. I was like, oh, shit.
I put a lot of money on it, thinking, I can't believe it. It was only minus 130 at the time. And I was like, there's no scenario where he's not going to get it. Turns out almost immediately there became a scenario where he didn't get it. Because as soon as I put that bet down, in Game 3, Jason Tatum went off and had his best game
ever.
I don't know. I mean, maybe the game against Milwaukee where he scored 46 in Game 6 would keep them alive. And then he had 50 in Game 7 against the Philly. People always forget these Jason Tatum moments. They concentrate on the negative. But he did his best all-around game. He certainly had in Game 6. And then, in Game 3. And then in Game 4, he came out fast, and Brown had 2 points in the second quarter. And I was like, I just pissed away this money.
I couldn't have watched that, man.
And actually, my kids were getting angry with me because I was so focused, on this.
Come on, Jaylen.
They were like, "Can you just watch this game? This is why you shouldn't bet." And then even at the end, they each had about the same amount of points. And Jaylen did have the block at the big block with a minute left, and then the assist to Derek White. And I still think there was one play at the very end of the game with 10 seconds left. Celtics were up by 3. Tatum had a step back 3, which would have been the dagger 3, would have given him 30 points to Brown's 29 or whatever. I think that would have because it was 5-4. Even with that miss and with Brown's heroics, I still thought they were going to give it to Tatum.
Yeah, they liked him.
And then
his light skin privilege.
And boy, the feeling when I heard that Jaylen Brown name at the conference, it was it was the opposite. That the millions I lost to my honeymoon that I was talking about last time. It was the opposite of that because I thought it was gone. It was the equivalent of someone coming into my hotel room being like, "Actually, you won. You made $1 million."
I was wrong.
Oh my god! Thank God, the Italian computer was wrong. So now I feel like I have some found money. So I've been having some fun. I made a couple Bronny James bets.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
There's some really interesting with Bronny James. There's a market for what team takes him.
Okay.
And for some reason, it's my thinking that if he slips to the second round, which I think he's going to,
Than anybody, yeah.
It should be a team that's that wants LeBron on their team at some point, 2 years down the line. And I think the Celtics and the Sixers would be kind of stupid not to take him in whatever, the pick 54 or 60 or whatever they have. Just for the leverage. If nothing else, you could trade him to a team that wants LeBron.
Especially a big market team.
And I'm not saying and he had a fairly good, Bronny James had a fairly good, what do you call that, combine training camp or whatever.
Pro day.
Yeah. So it's not like he's terrible.
All right.
I don't
That's
think,
terrible.
I don't think he would otherwise be drafted, but if he had a different name. But I bet 1,000 crowns, so $100 basically, on the Boston Celtics drafting Bronny James at. What do you think the odds are?
I don't know because they're not even top 4 odds here.
Oh, this would be second round, number 54 or whatever.
I don't know.
50-1 is the odds that I got.
Okay. Oh, here is 35.
Yeah, see, it's gone down since I made that big bet.
Look at you, man.
So I have that 50-1, so $5,000 if the Celtics draft Bronny James, and I think Brad Stevens has shown to be obviously I think the best GM
in the league,
arguably of all time at this point.
I can't do this.
No, it's true.
I can't do this, man.
It's true. If you look at the moves, he's created things he's done in a short time.
It's irresponsible. He's better than
Name me a better one. Name me a better one.
He's better than Jerry Krause.
Yeah, that guy got run out of town.
Hey, they got 6 championships on this. What are you talking about, man?
Yeah. And he thought he was responsible for it. Yeah, so I have that. And I think Brad Stevens might be smart enough to know that, at number 54, which they have Dallas is interesting enough, second round pick.
Greg Popovich, come on, man! I'm over here getting mad at Brad Stevens. Get out of here.
Okay, look at the team he's assembled. The greatest team.
Look at this
greatest roster
the
of all time.
Spurs.
Spurs, come on.
They put some great teams together.
I wasn't watching basketball during that time.
Huh? That just makes it not exist.
No, I don't like the Spurs, and I don't like Popovich. But that's a different. Can I?
I'm sorry.
Explain my Brad Stevens fucking philosophy here.
I'm sorry.
Thinking. I think he would be stupid not to take. Well, who's he going to take at number 54 that has better value than Bronny James? In the sense that if Bronny James comes, there's a possibility you could get LeBron James 2 years from now or even next year as a 6th, 7th man for like $3 million a year. He might be like, I just want to play with my son, or he wants to go and play with his son somewhere, and you can package Bronny James, somewhere else and get a much better return. Anyway, and I also have, I bet the 76ers under the same line of thinking. 76ers to draft Bronny James. They have an earlier pick in the second round at 11-1.
Yeah, because they didn't have as high odds.
So and the same thing with the Sixers. Why wouldn't they? I mean, if they're trying to get him anyway, why wouldn't they draft his son? That seems even more logical thing. So Celtics and Sixers to draft Bronny James are my new 2 bets. As far as the upcoming finals, I am sticking with my guns, and I think Celtics in 4.
I have bet,
yes.
In 4?
In 4. Sweep.
You bet a sweep?
Yes, sweep. 9-1, I got it at. And I think that...
You put a lot of money on it?
Not as much as the Jaylen Brown thing. But let's say some of the Jaylen Brown money.
Okay.
I think that this finals is one of the biggest mismatches of the last whatever. As long as I can remember.
Yeah, history.
The last 30 years at least. You have a team, the Mavericks, who are
What's the biggest mismatch?
probably you have something in mind?
Yeah.
Last year?
No.
Fucking shitty Heat. Eighth seed. Worst
Yeah, that's
team.
a good one. And I was thinking, yeah, that might be. But you're saying this is a bigger mismatch than the Nuggets Heat last year?
Well, yes, I am saying it's bigger than that because I don't think the Nuggets were anywhere near as good as the Celtics are this year.
You think the Celtics would have beat the Nuggets?
I think the Celtics would have swept the Nuggets as well.
Why did you not want the Nuggets to play?
I was more scared of the Nuggets. Nuggets I would have been more fearful of. This Mavs team is not even in the same league, I think, as the Nuggets.
And
I mean, they're technically in the same league. It is the NBA.
Okay. I was thinking the 76ers and the Lakers.
Yeah, and actually that's a good comp because this Mavericks team reminds me of that team in that sense. And I think if they lose, there's a chance that Luca is Iverson, narrative-wise becomes the new Iverson, which is, the best player on the team that gets swept away. Although the Sixers team did win game 1.
Right, they did.
Of that series.
Kyrie is on the team. Another player.
We can get into that when it comes to the narratives. But for this, for the sweet, when this podcast started, I came to you and I said, this team's going to go 16-0. They have the best starting lineup in NBA history. I saw you reaching for. I was wondering what it was going to be.
No, because you did say that.
Is that Family
16
Feud? Like, try again?
That's the wrong. That's my wrong. You
okay.
could get this,
Oh, okay.
but you can also get what you got.
Well, I stand by it because they lost one of those 5 guys, a borderline all-star,
Yeah.
a 7'3" unicorn who everyone said was going to be the difference maker, and this is why they were going to be so good. They lost him in game 2, and still went 12-2 in the playoffs. So I think my 12-0 prediction is essentially still correct if you look at it through that lens. But I do think, the Celtics starting 5, now that Porzingis is back, I would argue that every one of those players is better than the second best Mavs player.
Kyrie.
Yeah.
So every
one of the Celtics starting 5
is
I think,
better
I think Luca,
than Kyrie Irving.
I think Luca is the best player in the series. I think the next 5 players are Celtics. I don't even know why that's funny to you.
because it is, man. You just told me that White is better than Irving.
I think if you ask NBA teams, who would you rather have? I think almost everyone would say White over Irving.
That's not the question. The
It
question
is.
is who's better.
That's the definition of who's better. Is who would you
rather
have
no?
on your
Because
team?
some people might be a headache. The reason they want him is not because on the court.
I'm taking off the off the court stuff out of it. I'm talking on the court stuff.
On the court, you would rather have
Yes.
all the starters for the Celtics than
Well,
Kyrie
let's take
Irving.
them one by one. Obviously, Tatum. Everybody would take Tatum over Irving.
Okay.
Everyone would take Brown over Irving. He's bigger. He plays better defense. He scores more.
Okay.
Porzingis. Every team would take Porzingis over Irving.
That's 3 of 5.
Okay, so I'm already at 3.
You got 3. Yes,
Yeah?
you didn't say 3. You said 5.
Drew Holiday is on the Olympic team. He's one of the 12 Olympians.
Okay. Does that mean he's better than Kyrie Irving?
Kyrie Irving's not on the Olympic team. Why is
Does that mean Isaiah Thomas wasn't on the Dream Team? Is he not a good play, better than some of the players on the Dream Team?
That's a fallacious argument.
What are you talking about?
Why is
man?
Kyrie Irving not on the Olympic team?
Was he asked to be on the Olympic team?
I'm sure he wasn't because he's not good enough. He's not one of the 12 best players.
All right, man. And Drew Holiday is one of the 12 best players.
According to the United States Olympic Committee, is
No, they don't always. They stopped trying to take all-star play or top players. They started trying to put teams together.
You think
Once they were losing,
Drew Holiday is pretty
not better than Kyrie
widely
Irving.
considered the best defensive player in the league. If you ask almost any NBA player who's the best defender in the league, they'll say Drew Holiday.
if it was a big pickup game with all the NBA players on the side, they would not. Drew Holiday would not get picked.
Pickup game is different because that's more about offense.
If you're picking, you're not picking Drew Holiday over Kyrie Irving.
I think if you ask NBA,
It's ridiculous what you're saying.
I think if you ask NBA,
Okay, fifth player.
GMs,
Fifth player.
Derek White
Is
is
Get the
better
fuck
than
outta
Kyrie
here,
Irving.
man.
He is. I don't understand. Like, do you think defense is not part of the game?
I agree. Defense is a
Kyrie Irving
big part of the game.
stinks on defense. White and Holiday are two of the best in the league, maybe the two best in the league. I think I proved my point. All 5 Celtics are better than the
Better than
second
Kyrie
best
Irving.
Dallas Maverick. And by the way, Kyrie has not been great in these playoffs. If you look at the numbers, he scored 22 points a game, had some real stinkers. He had some big games, but other than that, he's had some real no-shows.
So other than his big games, they haven't been big
Well, I mean,
games.
he scored, I think, 40 or something, or at least high 30s a couple times, and to still only be at a 22 point per game average, that means you had some clunkers along the way that people are forgetting.
Is this real?
So when talking about this series, the one thing that does give me pause is the fact that I think it's undeniable that Luca is the best player in the series. You'd be hard pressed to. I mean, part of the reason why I thought that this Celtics team was so unstoppable and historically great was that even though Tatum, I think, is a top 10 player in the league, they don't need for him to be that great because they have these other 4 guys.
Right.
But this is the ultimate test of that because I can't remember. I mean, maybe in that Iverson series, and what was that, 2001? But since then, there's no series that I can think of where the team with the best player didn't win.
Right.
I mean
Right.
the Kawhi
No, Iverson won better
series.
than
I think
Kobe,
you would
though.
say Kawhi was the best player in that series, but Durant got hurt, so there were obviously extenuating circumstances there. And
Wasn't Shaq on that team?
yeah,
On that Lakers team?
yeah. So he was better. So that's the one thing that the old adage of the team with the best player wins. That's the
No,
only
because then
thing
you got
giving me
Spurs, Cavs. That's another one that was a lopsided finals.
Spurs, Cavs.
LeBron's first finals. That might be the most lopsided.
Yeah, that team.
That was just him.
Yeah, he had like Booby.
Booby Gibson. That's the one. That's when because he got there too early. You know what I'm saying? It was so early.
But I
in his
think
career.
he wasn't the best player that yet. He was on the rise, but he was. I think Duncan was probably better than him.
Okay, maybe Duncan. But that's the most lopsided. I give that one over.
So this series, it will be the ultimate test of my theory that there's a new kind of age in the NBA now where team matters more than individuals, and this team. And not just in the NBA, you saw it with UConn, and you saw it with the women's thing, where these teams beat the superstar.
The stars, yeah.
That's what I'm betting on. Literally, I think the Celtics win in 4. What are your thoughts on the Mavericks Celtics?
It's hard to win 4 games in a row. That's the only thing. That's what it's just hard to sweep somebody. So I think Celtics win it all, and I say that begrudgingly and with hatred in my heart. But I do think they win it all. I think you're right about that.
I give you credit for not just taking the counterpoint in every podcast.
No,
I'm expecting you to take the other team.
No.
And you never do it.
No, I don't. I'm just real, man.
To make it spicy, you should say Mavs
in 3.
4.
Three.
3, wow.
In 3.
I didn't even consider that possibility. Shit.
I think we got three wins and a forfeit.
You can get some really good odds on that.
I'm putting 10 million on it.
Did you see? I sent you this thing with Luca with getting his beer taken away. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Check it out. This is your if you're a Dallas Maverick fan or rooting for the Dallas Mavericks, this is the guy that you're counting on as being the savior during this series. So that was
he's soft. You saying it's soft?
That was Michael Finley, who I guess is president or director of player personnel for the Mavs. Literally taking the beer out of his hand like he's a child. If I'm a Maverick supporter, that does not make me feel good at all. That he just allows that to happen. That's a guy who I feel is not ready for the moment. That's a child.
Radio take.
That is a child. Oh, sorry,
right,
you take my beer. I mean, any sort of man stands up and says like, "Hey, bro, we just fucking won. We got 8 days off. Give me my beer back." What do you think this is?
It looked like he was joking around when he did it.
I don't think so. I think that was one of those like, son, you got to concentrate.
It's not over yet.
Yeah, yeah. One of those mentor type things. The guy's like, just take. It looked to me that way. I would be uneasy if I was a Maverick fan and saw that. For that reason alone,
It became personal with me.
For that reason alone, I'm saying Celtics in 4.
You would have given them a game otherwise.
And I also think the what's interesting about the narrative, like I said, it seems like whatever you want to call it, the media narrative has been Celtics have been kind of disappointing, and then it was just on the basis of the 2 regular season games where the Celtics lost close games to Denver, despite shooting 2 of their worst. Celtics shot like 20% and 15% from 3 in those 2 games. But the narrative changed based on those 2 games that, okay, Denver is going to win when the time is right. Celtics are not as good as Denver, even though the Celtics were miles better than Denver in the regular season. And then once Denver lost to Minnesota, all of a sudden Minnesota was the flavor of the week. And Bill Simmons was calling them the best defense since the 2004 Pistons. And
I was saying that.
That lasted like a week.
Yes.
Are they still going to be considered one of the greatest defenses ever as a second round exit or third? And then the narrative was, okay, this Minnesota Denver series is whoever wins this is going to be the champion. This is the finals. And then Dallas beats Minnesota. So and I just feel like the Celtics still are not weirdly getting the credit they deserve as far as the media narrative. interestingly, they're always getting the love and support from on the odds from Vegas. They've been the favorites the whole way through. They're a big favorite in this finals. But I feel like the public still, if you asked an average NBA fan, thinks that this finals is a toss-up.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's...
That just means that the media has done their job well.
For some reason, Kyrie and Luca, I guess because they're flashier and offense is more, easier to see. They're averaging the same amount of points as Tatum and Brown in this playoffs, the two of them. And yet Tatum and Brown, especially Tatum, there's been all these sorts of debates about,
It's not, man, they were playing worse teams than Dallas has been playing. Like, you can't, it's so weird when you got your Boston goggles on, man.
I will agree to that.
I get that people are like, they expect them to be blowing through these teams, which they kind of are, but they want them to look even better because the competition is different.
Okay, Celtics were, 15 games better than them in the regular season.
Right.
There's
in the East.
There's 82 games. I think they play both East and West. Both
they
teams.
do, but they play one more than the other. They played the Mavs twice this year, right?
Yeah, two easy, breezy wins for the Celtics.
Yeah, one blowout and one win by 9.
Which I wouldn't, put too much stock in, because they didn't have Gafford and PJ Washington, who are two big players for for Dallas. But yeah, let's look at the narratives for this, which is what I love most of all. There's so much at stake in this finals, narrative wise. There is. I mean, not just I could say personally for me and my family, there is so much at stake here, because we need a championship. Like, we've been watching these games religiously for as long as my kids have been alive, almost. And for God's sake, can we have one familial moment of joy?
We do not care.
Even though we'll be 3,000 miles apart. It'll be virtual high fives happening. So on the Mavericks, I mean, I think it would have been easier. The narratives would have been almost less if it was the Nuggets. The Nuggets would have had less to play for. But as we mentioned before, with Luca, if he wins this, he's now on another total echelon.
Yeah.
He's viewed totally differently.
Yeah.
At 25 years old, now he's in the discussions of like the greats, the great greats. If he loses, he could be, his career could end up being like an Iverson's, whereas he made one final, brought his team there, but couldn't get it done.
That's what we thought was going to happen to LeBron as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he went early, couldn't get it past it, then couldn't get back for a while.
Kyrie Irving, if he wins, will now be, in the Scottie Pippen discussion, I think, is like the best number 2.
Sidekick.
Along with number 2 from Austin Powers as well.
Number 2.
I just watched that with my kids recently.
I
call him number 2. That was great. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm going to watch him more.
If he loses, I mean, there's, I don't know how much blowback he'll get. I still think he's gotten a lot of credit for their run, but, he still is living off of that one shot that he made in the Cleveland Warriors series. And I actually watched that recently, that sequence, just in research for my Kyrie hate.
Right.
Not as great a shot as you remember. Everybody thinks of it as like a last second 3-point shot, to win the game 7. It was over a minute left. I think there's like a minute 20 or something left when he makes the shot. And it's like the only made shot in like the last 3 minutes of the game for either team. I mean, both teams were just stinking it up left and right. So I think everybody remembers it as this clutch last second shot, but it was like there was like 90 seconds left. That's all I'm saying.
I was in the States then. I remember watching it. It's so good to be in the States when this.
I know, at like a packed bar.
Yeah.
And that's
no, I
what
was
it'll
actually at my family's home. I don't know.
Okay. Well, loser. And if you look since that time, Kyrie has been very underwhelming in the playoffs, despite the fact that he's got this clutch, reputation. So I'm expecting a return to the norm for him. And what's going to be interesting about that is the Celtics fans obviously are going to be booing him every time he touches the ball, and that can be good and bad. I mean, they can feed him a little bit more and get him motivated. But it's also, I feel like the hate towards Kyrie has lessened quite a bit, including me and people like me, hardcore Celtics fans. We've kind of moved on. We still hate him, but it's not as visceral as it was, a few years back when they played the Nets. So that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see if these Celtics home crowd can sustain their boos through 4 games.
I know, right?
4 home games of the playoffs, if there is that many. Because that takes a lot of effort to just get, the boo, and then again, boo. And he has the ball a lot, too. So it's not like he gets it once every quarter. Your boo game has to be really on.
Stay committed.
I know there will be some people that are doing it all game, but the question is whether everyone will stay committed. That's a storyline. That's
another storyline.
I have the no boos by the fourth quarter at 3-1. No. I wish you could bet on something like that.
Yeah.
Both Kyrie as an ex-Celtic and Porzingis as an ex-Dallas, and there's a lot there. Porzingis talked a lot of trash about Doncic on I think it was JJ Redick's podcast actually, saying he didn't really get along with him and then they weren't good teammate. He wasn't a good teammate. I can't think of a real life equivalent to this. If 2 exes are now with their new significant other and are competing together. Would it be like a barbecue, like a 4th of July? I don't know. What is that?
Bowling on their movie The Breakup?
I'm just trying to think of cornhole, for the 4th of July. Volleyball, something like meet the parents.
I said The Breakup when they were playing in the bowling.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
To pick the bowling team. Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, there's a lot at stake there. Whoever wins that gets to stick it to their ex.
That's what I'm saying. If somehow Dallas wins, then Kyrie, oof,
I know it's gonna really hurt.
That's gonna sting.
Because he'll also be like pretending like he's above it and taking the high road, even though he's taking the low road.
How?
By pretending to take the high road.
So you prefer it if he was just a dick about it?
I actually like when people take the high road because that means there's more room for me on that.
To go low road. Clear the path.
Tatum and Brown, my God. I mean, talk about like the narratives and what's on the line for them. It's the difference between, a Garnett Pierce type, even if they just get one, they'll move into the Garnett Pierce realm of champions that can be on these, inside the NBA shows and be like, I got my ring. Or there's Stockton Malone, teams that just consistently getting there but never getting over the hump.
Where you at on Paul Pierce? You like him?
I was not a huge Paul Pierce fan when he was on the Celtics. Liked him, didn't love him, and I think Garnett was the guy that changed everything. I mean, it was especially he came over and obviously the team went from like 20 wins to 60 wins, so it's
Ray Allen too,
no secret. But
the big three,
and Pierce was clutch as hell especially during that run. So I respect him, but I don't think I think he's wildly overrated because of that.
I love this.
And Tatum is, I think swimming in those waters a little bit. I think he's a lot more talented and can do a lot more. But if he loses, the stink is going to be, there's going to be an entire offseason of like, they're just not winners.
I think Paul Pierce I just find him corny. I'm sorry, Boston fans.
I do. I mean,
like I think the most
interesting thing about was the stripper thing that shows. I'm almost impressed by that like lack of awareness.
Like, and then the thing on when he out there with the woman that he brings to the Kevin Garnett's thing. Have you seen that?
Yes, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, and that's that's his thing. I'm sure he'll be in attendance in this game.
And the wheelchair thing too. Come on, man.
The wheelchair thing is so weird. I still don't get it. There's lots of theories about he shit his pants during that. Have you seen it? Well, you got to look at it. Look it up after this. There's a picture of like
Paul Pierce shitgate.
Yeah, like brown shit stain. And there's a theory that he had shit his pants, so he had for the wheelchair. Yeah, I can investigate that more. So yeah, and then of course there's all side narratives. I mean, Drew Holiday, with the ultimate revenge on the Bucks. The Bucks go out and sign Damian Lillard and cast off their Olympic point guard, who's the best defender in the league, who every GM would take over Kyrie Irving. I really think that's true, by the way.
That what?
You think there's a single GM that would take Kyrie Irving over Holiday?
I think there's GMs that take Kyrie Irving over Holiday. I think he's better. Sorry.
At offense?
Yes. Scoring.
Okay. There's this second part of the game, you realize.
I do, yeah.
And that's basically the only thing he's better at is offense. Scoring points.
That's crazy.
So I'm loving this. I'm loving this for the Celtics. I think it's, like I said, it's going to be an old-fashioned beatdown, a stomp fest. And the Celtics in this Indiana series, I mean, the big knock on them was that they couldn't win close games, and 3 out of those 4 games they were losing late. Excuse me, and came back to win. So I think that series was important for them in terms of showing that they could, come through in the clutch. I think they needed that, actually. Dallas certainly did that against Minnesota. They, 3 out of those 4 games really came down to who was 3 out of those 5 games about who was executing down the stretch, and they certainly did so. I'm a bit concerned about Porzingis. Everybody thinks like Porzingis coming back is going to be, even better for the Celtics, but I know in that Minnesota series, Gobert ended up a lot on Luca. Excuse me. And I fear that they're always hunting those matchups in the playoffs. That there's going to be some one-on-ones with Luka just making Porzingis look stupid.
We'll see, man.
So your prediction is Celtics in how many?
5 or 6.
Oh my God! Can you make a fucking commitment?
5.
Celtics in 5.
Celtics in 6 is my prediction.
Celtics in 6.
Yeah, I think. I think the NBA wants it to go. They might give Dallas a game.
When I was telling you about how the Vegas and the betting markets really believe, like I do, that this team is vastly superior to the Mavs. The number one, the lowest odds are Celtics in 5. So that's the one that people think is
okay.
dying here. So
is it pollen?
That's pollen allergies killing me. Last thing, I just wanted to, in as far as my return to the court on Thursday, any thoughts?
Stretch, man.
That's the number one fear I have is
Don't
injury.
Get hurt. Yeah,
especially because I don't know how it works with our insurance.
It works.
What do? You say
they won't do shit for you until they see you got proof of insurance. But you call. Make sure you write down your
home
number.
Insurance.
No, you
We don't have insurance here. That's the whole fucking point of it.
No, I know, but you call. There's a number that you call when you're abroad.
Okay.
And just write that down. Save it in your phone.
Because
we had to do that.
There's
for
a
my
high
son.
risk of me getting injured. Like
Achilles. Oof.
No, anything.
Yeah.
But I'm getting in basketball shape. This team is not exactly a team of all-stars. So I think I will fit in nicely. I think everything is on the table for me.
Well, you got the jumper though, man.
I can see myself like literally scoring like 25 points and going off and having a like legendary, turn back the clock moment, or like just falling on my face and
play arc to arc, man. Arc to arc.
Yeah. So everything is on the table. I'm looking forward to that. The game will be on YouTube with one of the best announcers in the business, Josh. Don't know his last name.
Okay.
So
I'm watching that.
Hopefully, I will
shout us out.
Bring a victory to Kirk Minahan's. I just want to fit in any way I can. I just want to give you a couple good minutes.
Make sure to shout out that you be like have them on your jersey. It should say host of the #1 NBA podcast in the world, Greg Poehler.
Yeah, I think that's asking for a little too much. I'm just hoping, and it's 18 and over too. And the funny thing about the team is, I'm 49. And
really?
And out of shape, and I still think I'm in, better shape than most of the players on this team who are in their
shit.
some of them are in their 20s. I mean, it's a sad group in terms of.
Who y'all playing?
This is my team. I'm talking.
Again, but who y'all playing against?
I don't know. It's whoever. It can be
league
18-year-olds. It can be 30-year-olds. It can be
Oh
whoever.
shit!
So yeah, hopefully it's nobody good. But
Get dunked on, man. No, you ain't gonna get dunked on.
I had a game. I played against my sons. One of these parent-kid end of the year games. I think it was like 2 years ago. And I had to move. Like my problem is, I used to kind of rely on my quickness in getting to the basket and stuff. And I still have, I still know what I want to do.
Yeah.
But sometimes, the body just doesn't catch up.
Yeah.
And you can look. I mean, there was one move I made a couple years ago that my kids still talk about, still bring up. It was the clumsiest. I was trying to do an inside-out dribble. And instead, my feet kind of got tangled up, and then the ball kept going, and then I staggered trying to get to it. And so it was like a stagger, and everyone's just watching as I stagger, fall, flail for the ball, goes out of bounds, and then just head down. And it was so bad there was just silence in the gym because everyone was like, "Are you okay?"
Man, did this dude just did this?
Yeah. So I'm hoping to minimize that. As long as I just try to stay within myself and be a good teammate, I think we have a chance of winning. So
Obviously, I love the game of basketball.
obviously, and hopefully by that time, the Celtics will be on their way to the 18th championship, which they and we so richly deserve. Thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, we are the #1 NBA podcast in the world. Go Celtics. See you soon.